Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and let's talk about mid-size truck reliability. So yesterday I did a video on full-size truck reliability, and that was predictive reliability from Consumer Reports. So what Consumer Reports does is they look at past survey data, they take the information they have, and they make educated guesses on what reliability will be for future models. So if you're going to buy a 2023 model, you have an idea of what reliability might be like. And this is pretty beneficial, especially with trucks getting more and more expensive. And so you want to have some idea before you buy it, well, what's going to be like. And while predictive reliability is like looking at a crystal ball, it's not always that accurate. It does give you one more data source to go from. So I wrote a story up on pickuptrucktalk.com. And if you're an early viewer of this website, you may have noticed something. And I point this out. I made a boo-boo. I made a mistake, and I do apologize for this. But I had to change the title and change the story because when I was on consumerreports.org, consumerreports.org, I got that wrong the other day too. That's an interesting asterisk this morning. I was looking at overall scores, not clicking in and seeing predictive reliability. Now, fortunately, if you watched the full-size truck video yesterday, I looked up the numbers, and that information is actually still accurate. Midsize had to flip it around a little bit, so my fault on that. And so let's go ahead and dig into this information with that caveat out of the way. And let's talk about midsize trucks. So this year is going to be really excited for midsize trucks because brand new Tacoma, brand new Ford Ranger, new Colorado and Canyon are hitting the marketplace the next couple of months or so, and lots of cool activity happening in this segment. So it's exciting. And these midsize trucks are becoming even more capable, and they really are replacing some full-size trucks in some people's driveways because they fit in the driveway better, they fit in the parking lot better, they fit in the parking garage, may fit in your garage. Shocking. And people just tend to like the lifestyle of having that vehicles of that smaller size, regardless of price point. So mid-size trucks are getting more expensive, but it's actually cheaper than many full-size trucks if you do some apples-to-apples comparison, and people just want a smaller truck. So let's talk about these numbers. And we're going to kind of break this down. So I'm just going to talk, first off, most reliable 2023 mid-size trucks. Let's give you the information. So we have the Toyota Tacoma, number 1, Honda Ridgeline, number 2, Ford Ranger, number 3, Nissan Frontier, number 4, Jeep Gladiator, number 5, Chevy Colorado, number 6, and GMC Canyon, number 7. So that's the results, but let's unpack this a little bit more, and let's take a look at more data. And I do want to point out something, because the questions come up later on this video. What about the compact trucks? We have the Ford Maverick and the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and how are these trucks doing? And I will tell you, looking at Consumer Reports overall score, I've never seen trucks score higher than the Ford Maverick Hybrid and the Ford Maverick. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is right there as well. So Consumer Reports is really loving these trucks, and I think it makes good reason. You know, they're really good size for that customer who wants that smaller size, and the Maverick is pretty darn good and pretty darn inexpensive, and so that seems to fit a lot of what I've seen from Consumer Reports over the years. You know, you want a good bargain, you want something reliable. Hey, you want something a little bit smaller size. That's what fits. But let's go back to the true midsize trucks, the Toyota Tacoma. So we see it's number 1. It's going to be interesting. It has some changes happening this next year. This year we'll see a new Tacoma. But looking at carcomplaints.com, because you remember, on Consumer Reports, I can't show you the detailed information as part of my agreement with Consumer Reports, and I'm going to honor that agreement because they've been, well, pretty nice to me. So why not be nice to them? Let's talk about the Toyota Tacoma. And so we're looking at the overall issues, and what really people talked about is the transmission was early on. There's some issues, transmission shifting, and then that was way back in 16 when the model first came out. So you can see over the years, reliability has gone down. And this really goes to that fact people think about taking the kinks out of the vehicle. Now, I still argue sometimes because always new parts come up, but major issues like transmission shifting or engine stuff is usually worked out in the first model year, if it occurs. That's typically what we find. So Tacoma definitely getting better reliability over the years. Ford, what did I say? I said Ford or Honda Ridgeline was number 2. And Honda Ridgeline, I dug in this a little bit more because I want to show you guys something on the screen. Is if you go back and look at Honda Ridgeline overall, you can see over the years, we've had less and less complaints. They kind of spiked up a little bit. So I was like, what is going on with this? And they're talking about engine problems. And this is one of the issues you run into with like reporting on carcomplaints.com, reporting these things, report to NHTSA. Close. These are NHTSA, which is National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reporting. And this is what causes me sleep at night because it's like, come on, guys, let's get this problem figured out. So first of all, we have 5 complaints on engine problems with the Honda Ridgeline. And it's interesting because one of these complaints is lost power, check engine started flashing. He pulled over, he turned it off, turned back on, and didn't seem like he had any problems after that. Didn't get it towed or anything. Same thing happened here. Stopped the end light. Light turned green. Check engine light came on. Shook. Could no longer drive. So then he turned it off and he turned it back on. So this has happened a couple times. There's a thread on a forum, naturally. Same idea. Auto start stop. Could not turn on. Shift the park. Now he took it into the last guy took it in the dealer and had him check it out, and the dealer didn't find anything. So dealer said no code. Engine check and start blinking. So again, is this an engine issue? Is the engine going bad, engine failing, or electronics issue? This is what the interesting part here is with that. So same deal here. And this wrote in just regards to driver's side window malfunction. Well, that's not quite right, because it says the consumer stated while driving the vehicle lost power. So just kind of read in those a little bit. I think that what they're saying is there's some sort of issue with auto start stop, or there's some sort of issue that the truck's throwing a code. But when they go to the dealer, there's no code restored. So frustration, absolutely. Long-term reliability, engine's going to die on you. I don't know. It's up in the air on that one until they figure out what's going on with that. But that was January 28th, 2022. And looking at these dates, I see something in December. So there might be an over-the-air update coming for the kind of stuff. They can do some updates from manufacturing that fix those issues pretty quick these days. Let's look at Nissan Frontier, which was number 4. Or excuse me. Yeah, Ranger. Ranger's next. Let me move my tabs around here for a minute. Ranger was not really new in a couple of years ago, because they brought the Global Ranger back because they discontinued it. And so they really don't have a whole lot of concerns with that Ranger. At the moment, I'm not seeing a whole lot. Again, there's new Ranger coming out this year. And typically what I've seen with consumerreports.org is that new vehicles tend not to get as high predicted reliability rankings. And that's just because of the newness of the vehicle. Looking at Nissan Frontier, you can see this happening again. Nissan Frontier has been out for many years. The engine, the 3.8 liter, came out in 19, I believe it was. And so they've had that engine for out a little bit. There's really not a whole lot of issues there going on with that truck. And so you can see that predicted reliability is a bit higher. But speaking of vehicles that have issues, Jeep Gladiator has tons of issues. And I looked back into this because I was curious what the predicted reliability was about Jeep Gladiator. So you can see it's gone way down over the years. So the newer one's definitely better. And again, ages, things changing. But what they talked a lot was steering problems. And so you can see the steering problems wandering at highway speeds. And Jeep has done a lot to address this, actually. And this is where I wrote a story back here where it was in back of 2020 about reliability. And there was a new steering box, I believe, if I recall this video and everything accurately. There was a new steering box that was installed to really make that not wander so much. And so if you look at the information, we're not seeing the same kind of complaints we saw back then. So I'd anticipate particular reliabilities in a car going up as the vehicle is a lot longer and the steering problems go down because they switch the box out. Now, rounding out the batch is the Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon. And I want to make sure I go full screen here for the moment, because my friend at Consumer Reports, I kind of upset him, and I do apologize for this. I messed up. And so he pointed out that in my full-size video, I said that Consumer Reports doesn't like Chevrolet products. What I meant to say was that Chevrolet seems like it doesn't do well, and GM doesn't do well on full-size trucks and mid-size trucks. And so they do recommend a large variety of vehicles: Blazer, Corvette, Equinox, Trailblazer, Traverse, and GM other recommended vehicles: Buick Enclave, Encore, Envision, Cadillac XT5, and GMC Acadia. So they do like that, those Chevrolet vehicles. And he does clarify that it's not based on perception, it's based on data. So they have, like I said earlier, they take the data and they look at what's happening and they make a future trend. So, but I will say, and it is accurate, that the Chevy Colorado and the GMC Canyon get the lowest scores on predicted reliability. And there's a good reason for that, right? So the Chevrolet and GMC Canyon were using an 8-speed transmission. Now that's 8-speed transmission in the Silverado, in the Sierra, Canyon, and Colorado has been known to have lots of issues. It's shifting weird. It doesn't work right. People are really upset about this engine, this transmission. And if you look at carcomplaints.com, you can see that Colorado transmission problems are the overall worst problem category. It came out 2018. So you can see these spikes are all basically transmission issues. GM has been trying to fix this transmission to make people like it better, to make sure there's no problems with the shifting portion of that. Now, The Colorado and the Canyon both get an updated, revised 8-speed transmission. And I believe the Silverado will get that transmission as well. So I need to double check that, but I believe they're getting that transmission too, because it just makes sense to do it in those other vehicles. So GM's addressing that issue. We have yet to see what that transmission will do over a period of time. I did do a quick test drive. It felt fine to me, but again, these test drives are a lot going on, a lot of things happening. So you can't really make complete conclusions on that until that comes out. So, new Colorado, new Canyon, I do expect that to be still low predicted reliability because you have a new vehicle. However, that 2.7-liter turbo is a powertrain engine they've used in Silverado for the last 5 years. So they do have some reliability data on that. But I do expect the transmission to have a little bit of, my gut tells me there's going to be a little bit of learning curve with the transmission for customers and whether it's going to be a good transmission or not over the case of the life of the vehicle. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. So, I think this year is going to be really exciting for consumers looking for a midsize truck. A lot of new options out there, but we're going to see some really interesting changes over this year. And next year's video I do like this is going to be fantastic as far as seeing what happens. Can a Tacoma with a new redesign and probably we're talking about new powertrains, talking about even a hybrid version of this vehicle, can it reign supreme? Will new Ford Ranger pick up some of the slack there? Does Honda shoot to the top because there's nothing really designed in the Honda? Is that still going to be shoot up there? Nissan Frontier, again, nothing new in there. Is that going to shoot up to the top? Is Jeep Gladiator going to improve now that they fixed the steering box issues last couple of years? You can start seeing less data, and as Consumer Reports gets more data, will that change predictive reliability? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So again, I want to clarify that about the information yesterday. I want to clarify the Consumer Reports information as far as vehicles they do recommend. Again, it's just the Chevy trucks, and that it seems like that's been kind of a sore spot in the rankings for the last couple of years. We'll see how that works out. So I'll have a lot more information on reliability as the year goes on. Cover more of these topics. Make sure you subscribe, stick around. Also check out videos over here, website down below, pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.